Alright, things are getting serious. We're getting really close on finishing this install. We got a couple of things left to do. Let's get started on it. Come along for the ride. Alright, so the next step is to take the new coolant sensor from the new wiring harness and install it in the manifold. So I just removed it there and we're going to plug it in here. And if anybody knows where to get these fittings right here, this is the fittings that go through the water. We've been trying to find those and source those. If you know what works, I don't think they make those fittings anymore, but we are sourcing those. If we haven't figured it out by the time this video comes out, would greatly appreciate your help. All right, one of the next steps is we're gonna put the VSS. This is a vehicle speed sensor. I think this new speedo sensor for the new computer. We're gonna put that in. You take the speedo cable off back here at the transfer case, and then it comes with a key. New key goes in there, like so, and then this coupler goes on. Next, we got a little coupler, which has this has left-hand threads on it. So this is lefty tighty, righty loosey. Oh, I had it right the first way. It was just going the wrong way. That goes on there like that, and then these is gonna go on here. Should have jacked old Steve up there. All right, so we got that on there. One of the things they say is real important is having an 1/8 inch to 3/16 gap on your coupler nut to the coupler, or to the nut that goes to the transfer case. So this coupler nut's got left-hand threads and right-hand threads in it. It's a little tricky to get on there, but once you get on there, you can get it on there nice. And then we're just gonna hook the speedo cable back up and run this wiring up there. So we'll get that hooked up, and then we're gonna start laying in, or we're just gonna get to the next thing. I don't know what we're gonna lay in. Hopefully a big old cushy mattress. All right, we have got the new wiring harness threaded through the firewall where the computer goes. The rest of the wiring harness is sort of blocked out where they're gonna end up going. The first connection they say to make is the ground connection, and they do a really good job of putting these labels on everything. So the ground connection is going to go on the bracket that the bell crank goes onto. So the next wires that we're going to route, these two go to the starter, orange and purple. They make it dummy proof with awesome little eyelets. And then the white wire is going to go to the negative post of the coil. So I'm going to get those routed and mocked up. We are going to be changing our battery terminals and cables. So we'll be messing with that later. So there we go. So the next thing we did, we got the injector connectors put on. I didn't do that on camera because it was a little dicey for me doing it. I'm going to put the air cleaner back on, and then we're going to get to the next step. This is getting to be pretty easy. All right, the next one is going to be the map sensor, and we're going to have to build a little bracket for this that mounts to the firewall, because this needs to live right here. This tube can't be longer than 12 inches right here that we're going to plug this into. So this needs to live right here, and it needs to live pointing the tube down. So at some point we're going to have to do a little fabrication and make a little bracket But for now, that's the map sensor. Next one's coolant temp sensor. We got that installed right here with the sensor that they provide. And we're just gonna take this label off and plug that in. All right, let's plug it in. There we go, satisfying click. All right, on to the next one. Next thing to do is the fuel pump relay and fuses. I'm deciding to put my fuses in the same holes where the 4 and 10 solenoid bracket was, and then we're gonna put the fuel pump relay somewhere right in there. And then the power for the fuel pump is gonna we're gonna beautifully snake it down there, down to the fuel pump. And that's that one. On to the next one. All right, we have got the wiring harnessed through the firewall. We've got it snaked through that gap in the defroster. We got the leads that go to the computer over there. This is the connector that you will be able to connect the diagnostics tool up to. We're thinking about putting it right here, right about here, roughly. There's a fuse box. We are going to put that right back here. If you can see, our light just went out. We're going to put that right back there. And then we got the check engine light is these 2 wires. That's going to get routed up into the dash, and we're going to put that somewhere up on the dash. So things are coming together in here. We got to go get some self-tapping screws, but we're getting really close to getting this thing going. All right, we're going to hook up the O2 sensor to the O2 sensor. Click. All right, next one's the throttle position sensor. That one's in. And then we're going to do the air intake control. All right, we only have a couple more wiring connections to make. One of the last ones is we're going to connect 12-volt power to this blue and white wire that goes from the manifold heater and runs over here to these relays. I'm gonna get those stuck together, and then we'll move on to something else. All right, we got that connection. I'm leaving these really long so that later on we can clean this wiring harness up and we'll make everything all pretty. But in the meantime, I'm giving myself extra length so I can cut it 5 times to make sure it's still too short. We're gonna connect the fuel pump, and we're gonna run this line up to the throttle body. So I'm going to get this connected, and then we're going to run the fuel pump power connection to that, and then we're also going to run the vehicle speed sensor line down this way and get that connected as well. So here we go. All right, big time connections here. What we're going to do is we're going to connect the fuel feed and the return up to the throttle body. They bench test these throttle bodies, so when you take these plugs off, expect a little fuel to come out. It happened to us. So here we go. This is the feed line here. And then this one here is our return. All right, I'll get those snugged up and then we'll move on to the next thing. We got those connected, they're nice and secure. We ended up using a piece of the bell housing, or the bell crank bracket to hold them. So we got a little spaghetti bowl action in here, but things are coming together. Now we're gonna go inside the cab and do a little wiring. One of the last things to do is connect the check engine light, and you got this purple
and pink wire here. We got a nice little amber light. Eventually it's gonna go right here, we hope, in this little panel. But for right now, we're just gonna zip tie it here because we're gonna do a temporary, make sure everything's working before we lock a ton of stuff down. One of the other final things we have to do is, this is the connector for a module. So you can check the computer for codes and stuff like that. We're gonna, again, this thing's gonna be dangling, and we're gonna lock it in somewhere whenever we start getting everything 100%. So I'm gonna get this wired in and I'll show you when I get it done. So we got those together. We're just gonna zip tie this right here for now. We're eventually gonna put it right there, like I said. So the very last thing we need to do is we need to hook this 12-volt power to this wire right here via weather pack terminal, and we are stuck waiting on a tool. So we're kind of on hold. That's gonna be it for this video. When I get that tool, we're gonna crimp that terminal on that wire, and we're gonna try to start Steve. Got to plug in the computer, you know, couple of little things. But in the next video, it's gonna be, will Steve start? So I really appreciate you guys staying around, watching me do all this tedious stuff. I'm just trying to show everybody what it is to do one of these kits on a YJ, because there's no video that shows it in this depth. So I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment, tell me what I'm doing wrong, and we'll check you in the next one. Hopefully Steve starts.